Hi, welcome to my studio, and today I'm going to teach you about upcycling. And upcycling is the art of taking something of little or no value and turning it into something fabulous. Here's a jumper, the sort of thing you might find in the high street in Topshop or Henny's or Marks and Spencer's, and this has been made out of a big unshapely grandad jumper. I bought this off the markets for £1. It's second hand. You could find something really similar in a charity shop or a jumble sale, or even at the back of your dad's wardrobe. So all you're going to need is one of these and a pair of scissors to start off with. Right, here's my jumper laid out. Here's my pair of scissors. Once you get your jumper home, first thing you need to do is give it a wash and then check for any holes. The places you'll find holes are at the cuffs and sometimes on the sort of bib area of the jumper. If your jumper's okay, then you can get started. The first thing I do is fold my jumper in half, and I'm going to get the arms ready. So once those arms are lined up, I'm just going to simply cut off the cuffs. Therefore, if you have a jumper that has any holes in, we get rid of that completely and there's no worries. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to open my jumper up again and I'm going to cut off the bottom panel. That's going to create the collar of the jumper. I like to cut out on the floor. It means you can really spread out. So, first thing I'm going to do is just chop this off. It's really not an exact science, so don't get really sort of worried about it. There's my collar. Now what I'm going to do is split that in half. You'll see that one of these seams has labels in it. You might as well use that seam to cut up. You're getting rid of the label at the same time, and that will save you a bit of time when you're making your jumper. So there we go. I'm just cutting off that seam, chuck that in the bin. There we go. There is our collar panel. You can now leave that to one side and I go back to the main jumper. Now what I need to do is guesstimate where the middle line of the jumper is, and I'm going to cut up, being very careful that I don't cut the back of my jumper. So once I've cut that up, I'm now just going to cut out this polar neck. If your jumper or cardigan has got buttons on it, you'll want to cut those out as well, and that will give your Bolero, the thing that you're creating, a nice clean line. So there we go. I'm just snipping up there, and that is going to remove my polar neck altogether. And once I do these last few snips, my jumper is ready for pinning. Right, here's the jumper on my dressmaker's dummy. Don't worry if you haven't got one of these at home. You can easily ask a friend to pose for you while you carefully now pin this top section on. Remember, this is the piece that we've cut from the bottom of the jumper, and we're now going to pin it round the top. You've left that seam in, and that's going to give you the middle mark. You line that up to the middle mark at the back, and taking a pin, securing it in place. Remember to pin good side to good side. I'm now going to continue to pin this on, and then I'll show you when it's finished. Right, I finished pinning it, and you can see if I lift it up now, it's starting to take shape. One thing you do need to do is now just trim off these corners so that when you sew it together, you're going to have a really nice smooth line. So I'm just going to quite roughly just cut those edges off so that when I sew, it creates a smooth line. So there we go, I'm nearly ready to go. What I'm going to do now is move over to my machine and sew it together. I'm going to use this big industrial overlocker, but don't worry, obviously you don't have one of these at home, but you can easily use the zigzag setting on a normal domestic sewing machine. So here we go, I'm just going to turn the machine on, and I'm just going to sew where I've pinned. So it's a really easy straight line of stitching. I'm going to stop every now and again to remove the pins. And now you can see the jumper secured, so it's that easy. The last thing I'm going to do now is use the overlocker just to seal the sides along the bottom of the jumper. Again, you can use your zigzag on your domestic sewing machine to do that. Right, that's done. We're nearly finished. I'm now going to move over to my normal domestic sewing machine just to do the last finishing touches. I'm now going to just hem the edge of my jumper. That will give it a really, really nice finish. So that's the first thing to do. You're just doing this on a normal straight stitch. You can pick up a sewing machine new from a department store, probably for a couple of £100. If that seems like loads of money, off eBay you'll probably find a good second-hand one for about £50–60. And remember, that might sound a lot of money, but think about all the money you're going to be saving by making all your own clothes and reworking things that you can find in your wardrobe. There we go. I've finished the bottom off. The last thing to do now is to sort out the arms. I've cut these arms short. This is called the bracelet sleeve arm. Obviously it means it ends here on your arm, thus showing off your bracelets, if you have any. So the last thing I'm going to do is just turn over the arm of my cardigan a couple of times just to create that kind of seam, and I'm just going to sew it on the machine. Now I'm going to style it up for you. It goes on the model here, and I'm just going to ruche it up round the neck to give it a really different shape from before. We're going to need to secure that, and what I use are one of two things. Kilt pins look really great. You can buy those from haberdashery departments for about 10p, 20p. Or brooches, old vintage brooches. These can be picked up from charity shops, or if you ask your gran nicely, she might have some junk jewellery lying about. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes. It's cost us about £1.50, and what we've got is a look that might cost you about £45 if you were going to buy it on the high street. I calculate that that's a saving of £43.50. That'll easily buy you a pair of shoes, and that is how to survive the recession. If you want more upcycling ideas and tips on how to remake and remodel your wardrobe, go to www.jukesandproops.co.uk.